Good afternoon. Thank you for coming to this session. I feel very privileged to be standing here. I don't have much qualification to be standing here really addressing you, but for the fact that I think we share one common thing, and that is that we are all parents. And so I stand before you today as a mother, and more than any other hats that I wear, as Andrew said, while I run a consultancy, I've been training for many years. I run 2 restaurants now. I do my community work. But I'll tell you that the greatest achievement in my life is that of being a mother. As I think a lot of you can identify with me on that, you know, that being a parent really completes our life. I don't know how to put it. I think you all understand what I'm saying. And I'm going to assume that everyone in this room is a parent. Is there not a parent in this room? There's not a parent in this room. Why are you here? Oh, you're a teacher. Okay. Well, I suppose that makes it very relevant too. As long as you love children, you can be in this room. Yes? Okay, and we welcome you. All right. You know, this is really a funny story, but it's a real story. My husband was walking along Raffles Place one day, part of his work, this was several years ago, and he met an old classmate of his, whom he has not met for many, many years, ever since he left JC. And that old classmate said, "Oh, so, came in, you know, how are you doing now? Married, right? Yeah. Got children, right? Yeah. How many? 2, right?" My husband looked at him and was a bit sheepish and said, "Actually, we have 5, you know." And that man went, "What? 5? And all with the same woman?" But there you go, because nobody can imagine a woman today will want to have 5 children, you know. But then, of course, I've heard of those with 7, 9 today, you know. So I think it's becoming more, no, I wouldn't say it's common, but it's not so unusual, you know, to want to have more children. And of course, wearing my hat is I love children and I support having more children. I'll tell you that we keep saying maybe having 1 or 2 children already cannot cope, you know. That's what I keep hearing. But the irony of it all is that when you have more, they end up playing with each other and it frees you time to do other things. And that's why with my 5 now, they have each other. When they were growing up, they help each other in their homework. I don't have to worry. I spent a lot of time on the first 2 because they're twins, and then after that, it was all systems go because they help each other. So, encouragement to those of you who are still in a factory making stage, please go and have more, all right? That's what I will have to say. Now, I will just start very quickly by saying that, you know, all of us here who are parents, when we decided to have children, that's when we decided to have our hearts walking outside our body. Do you know what I mean as parent? You're a parent. Whenever your child is out of sight, we worry about them. Our heart is walking outside our body. And right now for me as a mother of 5, my heart is always outside my body because I've got 2 kids out of the country. You know, one studying in UK, one coming back from Korea for her after A-levels kind of a holiday, you know, with the cousins. It is like that because I think as parents, you know, we have this thing, this connection, you know, already with our kids, and it's not something that we can just easily let go. And that's why I think you are here today. You are here today because you love your kids so much. You want to know how to raise kids who are engaged with us, that we don't lose our kids, because it's so, I think it's such a cliche, but it's true that when our kids become 13, 14 years old, we will say, oh, they don't want to go to the restaurant with us anymore. They're not going to go to the beach with us anymore. They have their own program. But it doesn't have to be so. It doesn't have to be so. We can keep our kids with us. The important thing is to engage them. All right? So that's what we're going to be speaking about today. And I think that's the reason why you're here today, because you love your kids so much, you want to engage them. This is my family when they were growing up. All little 5. This is, let me see whether I can get this going. Well, at least number 1, number 2, the lady in her armband. That was because she broke her arm. Every single one of my kids has had an arm broken sometime in their life. I don't know why. But anyway, I don't think my what is doing very well. And the twins, those are twins. They're now coming to 22 years old. And the one on the foremost, that side, that's number 3. She's the one studying law in Oxford, so she's the bright spark of the family. And then, of course, this little girl here, she's Emmeline, and Emmeline has just got her A-levels results, and she's hoping to do medicine, and I hope she gets it in Singapore. And, of course, little Jonathan in my arms now, he's coming to 16 years old, a strapping boy, taller than me, some say better looking than me, and I hope so, yeah. All right, that's where they are growing up, and this is what they look like now. All right, so, but actually this is 2 years ago. You know, it's been hard to get together for family photograph. Sometimes Christmas, one child is away, you know, because of some program. Chinese New Year, another child is in studying away, cannot come back, you know, so it's been very hard. So this is a 2-year-old photograph. But still, my children, and I present them to you. The topic is raising an engaged child. I just want to share with you the meaning of engaged. I think when you all were courting husband, wife, you know, those of you who are here together, you know, you say, oh, let's be engaged. What's the meaning of engaged? So if you look at E-N-G-A-G-E, all right, we know it's about being connected to another, about being involved with another. So if I look at E-N-G-A-G-E, is, of course, when we are engaged, we enter a long-term commitment to another. Isn't it? We need each other to be engaged. There's a need for each other. We give of ourselves to the other, yes, and we act always in the other person's interest, in maybe each other and the other person's interest, and we grow together. At the same time, we need to express our love always in action as well as in words. Action and in words, okay? Because I'm a trainer, I will bring you back to my workplace, and I'll tell you that when I train companies, I always tell them, you need to have engaged employees. I think a lot of you here are working parents as well. You know that for you to be engaged in your company, to be engaged basically in the workplace, right? It actually means, right, that you will be more productive, you'll be more customer focused, you are likely to withstand temptations to leave because you're engaged with your company. But we will also tell our companies that in order for staff to be engaged with the organization, there need to be 3 things in place. They need to be satisfied. I'm so sorry about my laser pointer, but you tell where I'm going, all right? They need to be satisfied, they need to be motivated, and they need to be effective. And these 3 must come in together for them to be engaged within the company. So then we say, how does this then apply to the home front? Because you can use the same 3 factors. And we say, these same 3 will also help get our children engaged with us. So what does it take for my child to be engaged? And what roles do we as parents play? All right, what roles do we as parents play here in the way we're going to engage our children? Now, I see a lot of you taking notes. I'm just wondering whether it's at all possible for me to put my notes on a website sometime for you to be able to access it so that you don't have to take notes. Or rather that I engage you. You know what I mean? Rather than have you keep scribbling notes because there will be a lot to write, okay? Is that okay? Then that way we, whatever it is, I'll just make sure my slides are somewhere. Just go through the MOE website and you can then refer to that. Is that okay? All right, that's great. So what roles do we as parents play? I'm going to take each of these 3 factors, all right, and I'm going to go through each of them. So just follow me up on the screen, okay? Right, we say that they are fully engaged when they have all the 3. Now I'll talk about each of them, so they will be partially engaged when they are satisfied at the home front, all right? So they got to be satisfied with things, circumstances at home. Then what roles do you play as a parent, okay? This is very clear. You are the caregiver. We cannot get away from that. We are their caregiver. I know in this day and age where we have our helpers from Philippines, from Indonesia to help us, we basically give everything to them and they become the sole caregiver. They cannot be. You are still the primary caregiver of your child. All right. Our mates are helpful. They're great. I appreciate them a lot. But they are, at the end of the day, secondary to the caregiving of my children. I am still the number 1 caregiver of my children, even though there are many of them. We are also, of course, the nurturer, right? We nurture them. We make sure they drink all the milk. Just now I was drinking milk because I'm hungry. I didn't have breakfast. But then We give them the milk. We have to feed them milk. We have to feed them solids in order for them to grow. We nurture them in all ways, all right? And that will be also applicable when we talk about values and everything later on. But we are also the time donor, all right? There's somebody who once said, how do you spell love? Love is spelled T-I-M-E. Because to a child, and if you ask any child here, when mommy spends time with you, you like it? Yes, they love it. They associate time spent with the fact that the parent loves her. Don't say this thing called quality time. To a child, it's about quantity time. The more time you spend with a child, they think you love them a lot. And you know, it's universal. It's universal. America, everywhere, you ask them this question. To a child, love is spelled T-I-M-E. Okay, so we cannot run away from that. We cannot, okay? But I'll tell you that we can always steal time from the many things that we do. If you really look at how you spend your time, you'll be amazed how much time you waste on things that are really not so meaningful, all right? Then you plow that back into the lives of your children, into the lives of your children. I think this, I'm not going to go through in detail because it is very clear what you have to do. There are many agencies out there that gives talks on all this, like, you know, how you nurture a child, you know, and all that. So I'm going to leave that to them, all right? But I've got more important things that I would like to share with you in this very short time. I want to say that, good, they're satisfied on the home front. You've done your part as a parent, as a caregiver, as a nurturer. How else can they be engaged with us? And that's when they are motivated. As motivated children, motivated teens, motivated young adults, because no matter how old they are, they will always remain our children, right? So we need to motivate them to dream, to achieve, and to be the best that they can be. And how do we do that? And this is where I'm going to go into detail for you a little bit, all right? One of the roles that we play in motivating our children, all right, is that of being a role model. We hear this all the time, but I think, and we all know what it means. I want to just ask you this question. Look at this picture. What is this? Sir, what is this?
Iceberg.
It's an iceberg, right? Son, it is not just an iceberg. To be more specific, it is a tip of the iceberg. It's only the tip of the iceberg because, son, look at this. That is the iceberg. That is the iceberg. You look at it. Up there was what you saw. But really, the bulk of the iceberg, 90% of the iceberg is below the water. You cannot see it, right? That's seen, that's unseen. So actually, it was the bottom, the whole big, huge bottom of the iceberg that sunk the Titanic. They thought they missed it, but they didn't because already the damage was done. You know, the big, huge iceberg was already cutting through the hull of the Titanic. And the Titanic was sunk exactly 100 years ago. April 14, I think, if I'm not wrong, something like that. So very soon, we'll be celebrating, we shouldn't be celebrating, we'll be remembering the sinking of the Titanic. And that's why they brought the Titanic back on the movies, right? Back to the movie theater, 3D this time round. Now, why do I want to show you this picture? I want to ask a simple question, ma'am. Do you agree with me that every day, people are judging you?
Yes.
We are being judged every day. What do they judge us on? How do they judge us? They judge us based on our behavior, what we do, what we say. People are always looking at us and always judging us, right? They make their conclusions about you, impressions of you are made based on our behavior, what we do and what we say, and the skills we bring to the workplace or wherever we are. They judge us based on this 10% that is seen. This is us. What people see of us is the tip of the iceberg. What then is below? What is that 90%? Really, it's our character. And what makes our character is everything within that makes our character. Our emotional, framework, our intentions, our motivations, our value system, all these things make up the character that we are. And I don't have to go very far out of Singapore to tell you that even in the newspapers, we read about people who outwardly facade-wise, whether in the business world or in the civil service world, they come across as wonderful leaders. They are great. They are fantastic. But then comes revelation time. Something, I think you know who I'm speaking about. Recently in the news, right? They are wonderful leaders as far as everybody's concerned. But somewhere in that 90% of the character, there's a flaw. And that flaw, F-L-A-W, eventually F-L-O-O-R-E-D them. It eventually flawed them. There are just quite a few in our own Singapore landscape for us to realize that at the end of the day, as parents, when we talk about our children and how we bring up our children, I would like to just say that we need to work on their character first. We need to work on that 90% because that's what's going to hold them up. That's what's going to anchor them in their lives as an adult and beyond. So it's about the character that we've got to work on, all right? So this is what I'm going to talk about a lot today because, well, at least this part, okay, because it's got to do with our value system. Character. If I go to the dictionaries and I say, what is the definition of character? These are definitions, okay? It's the mental and moral qualities distinctive to a particular person, or it could be an aggregate of character, attributes, features, okay, that form this person's individual nature. And of course, what I did was I pulled out descriptors from A to Z that we can possibly have of a character. We can always say, Jonathan. Oh, Jonathan is a dependable person, and that speaks of his character. You know what I mean? He is an ambitious man, and then that also speaks of his character. He is a warm person. He is a jovial character. You know, that kind of thing. So these are all descriptors. The question is, how do we want ourselves to be described in terms of us as a character, and how do we want our children to be described in terms of their character as well?